Wait, I'm just gonna start the meeting now. You can go back and. Yeah.
The meeting.
Yeah, I call this meeting to order at 4:03 p.m. Okay, if I pronounce your name wrong, please tell me. Please tell me, okay? Lydia, here.
Here.
Isaac.
Here.
Beth.
Here.
Hannah. Here. Caitlin. Here. Esther. Here. Joel.
Yes.
Javier. Ariana. Here. Here. Ian.
Here.
Megan. Tammy. Tammy.
Yeah.
Okay. Benjamin.
Here.
Virinci. Leandre.
Here.
Christopher Lee.
Here.
Christopher Blue.
Here.
Aaron.
Here.
Rhea. Here. Adrian. Here. Jenna.
Here.
Okay. Jason.
Here.
Nicholas. Nicholas.
No.
Kate. Here. Matthew. Here. Daniela. Jennifer. Moving on to the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes on November 8th, 2023? Asia.
I moved to approve the minutes of November 28th, 2023.
November 8th. Leandre.
I second this.
Moved by Asia, seconded by Leandre. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we'll be moving on to public comments. Are there any, Adrian?
So yeah, I would just like to comment on office hours being upstairs. Like, I understand the idea behind it is to get more engagement, but I've noticed, like, in the entire time I've been doing it, only one person has come up to me for it, and it is really loud in the cafeteria. Like, as an autistic person, I make a point actually to not eat in the cafeteria and spend as little time there as possible, because it's really overwhelming and takes a lot out of me. So I think, maybe for the sake of accessibility, can we make it an option to not always be doing it in the cafeteria? Because it's really loud there, even during like quiet, like less peak hours, like just now over there, and it's still loud, even when there's not a lot of people.
We're not gonna, for Senate, we can't respond to any public comments, but, I'll definitely look into it and get back to you. Are there any other public comments? Asia.
I actually have really fun.
Any other public comments? Isaac.
They were gonna select, they were gonna have a forum for the finalists for vice president for instruction, but they canceled it, and they said that they would have new finalists again, because one of the finalists, like, I don't know, quit or something. So they're gonna look into the process, I think again, and then have new finalists.
Are there any other public comments? Last reminder, if you haven't taken the class modality survey, it closes today, and all of you should have done it by now. If the link is in the DASG Senate announcements channel, so if you haven't, you need to take that now. So moving on to advisor announcements. Sorry, Dennis, would you like to start?
I don't really have any major announcements at this time. I do have something just to let people know about that. For execs especially, there will be some changes to the way Microsoft 365 and Zoom work for you in the future. But then also for the senators, we're going to be expanding the use of Microsoft Teams so as to try to make things, better, more efficient, better ways of sharing files and everything. So yeah, so I guess just keep an eye on that.
Thank you. Maritza or Dana, would you have any advisor announcements? Or Hanju?
I just want, oh, go ahead, Maritza.
I mean, it's just gonna be about homecoming, but you can go first.
Oh, no, that's what I was gonna say. So go ahead. You talk about it.
Sure. I just put the link again in the chat. If you are planning on coming, please fill out the RSVP form. If you didn't RSVP and you come, as long as you have your DSG card, you should be good. But having RSVP will help us ensure check-in goes way more smoothly. So, so just make sure you do that. Encourage your friends. Please help get the word out. We do have a good number of people RSVP, but we want to get that number up. And then just a reminder with volunteers, right? If you are planning to volunteer, please make sure to fill out the volunteer form that's been dropped, I believe, in the DSG Discord, and also specifically the programs committee and marketing Discords. Don't just like leave it at, yeah, I've been talking about it, having filled out the form, help us know when you would be available to help. So we know what times we need more support, what times we have shifts covered. So last call, if you could please, if you're planning to volunteer and you haven't filled out the volunteer form, if you can do so by the end of the day today. We've already had an email sent out with information. I'm gonna adjust shifts a little bit because we have some people fill out the form I think today. But we are having a volunteer orientation over Zoom tomorrow from 5:30 to 6:30. So just FYI, but if just sign up today so you can get that email from me. But we could really use support with the setup and cleanup for the events. Yeah, Hanju, do you want to add anything else with that?
No, just please, everyone has to RSVP so we have an accurate account, and the expectation is this is a DASG event. If you do help volunteer, you can get field hours for that, but we do hope that all of you can make the event both Friday and Saturday. And I know that there is some rain in the forecast, but we're just hoping for the best. We would love for all of you to be out there to support it. And please spread the word. I think registration right now is a little over 160 for Friday and maybe 80 for Saturday. Our target at this point is 200. So let's try to get 200 students to sign up, okay?
Dana, would you have any additional advisory announcements?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to Senate announcements. Are there any Senate announcements? Ian.
Yeah, so mini flea market ended yesterday and it was a really big success. Definitely still a lot of improvements that can be made. But I just want to say a big thank you to Jenna for helping out with mini flea market, especially to the teachers, so Zoe, Brani, Ted, Anish, and Yenming, and some random dude named Reinhardt. And even to Ariana and Hannah, even though you guys didn't make it out, you guys let me know. And I think that was a really good example of how we should be kind of acting and like letting each other know whenever we can't make it. So I just want to give a big shout out to everyone who helped out. We didn't have it without all of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the programs committee met.
No. Oh.
Yeah. Okay, I just homecoming
Yeah.
thing.
What's that one song?
Oh, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah. Just, yeah, again, for homecoming, this is the DSG event, as Hanji said, so I do expect to see like all of you there if you can make it. And of course, please volunteer if you're able and willing, and you can find the volunteer link in the DHG Discord announcements. Are there any other Senate announcements? Anyway,
According to bylaw, well, this sounds really bad. Every time I say according to bylaw, but, so according to bylaws, all leave of absences must be approved and, reported to the DSP vice president. So, I'm here to approve an emergency absence, leave of absence, from the 20th of November to 22nd of November, for Megan, yeah. And then, that's it, yeah.
are there any other Senate announcements? Moving on to, there are no student trustee announcements, so moving on to external shared governance reports. Ariana.
Equity Action Council that today, student equity and achievement report was presented, and I was said that something we focused on are foster youth in Pacific Islanders. We also discussed some strategies to improve their academic performance. We discussed further concepts within culture of humility, including an understanding of race consciousness and commitment to disrupt microaggressions.
Any others shared governance reports? Okay, academic senate. Was there one? Isa.
RAC met yesterday and so we've received the forms, the personal request forms. And so now we're just working on evaluating them, so we'll be meeting online for the next few weeks, just going through these forms that we do. So yeah.
Any other shared governance reports? Okay, I have one from Academic Senate. They met on Monday. They just continue to discuss plenary resolutions for the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges. I believe they're having a conference soon, and some of the resolutions that they discussed concern course numbering and online class proctoring, as well as test options. They also covered Measure G updates, including the plans, updates, and timeline for the mega project, including concerns regarding the medical center and funding. They also discussed training and support for RSI/online teaching, as well as the campus model syllabus and roll off the course outlined off record. Moving on to internal DSG committee reports. Caitlin?
Reels is posted, with alternative language, flyers are up, editor position, which is nice.
Isaac?
We approved our 4 interns for that, and then we went through the bylaws, election code, and then resolution.
Asia?
So programs committee met yesterday and we approved 2 more interns. And then we're gonna be reassigning them. And also, I guess like if any committee needs like, I don't know, maybe flea market, like if you need an intern helpers or something, we have like a lot of interns that I think also like, some of them don't have anything to do, a couple. So if anyone needs interns, we can also send them your way, let me know. Then we also just finalized stuff for HOCO. For ES stuff, just like waiting for approval on the bikes, and then I guess if anyone's interested in also like helping plant the wildflower seeds, reach out to Adrian and they will be letting you know. Pretty much it's like actual gardening, like whatever you do with the soil, putting the seed in the ground, putting the water, covering with the dirt, and then like that stuff. So if you're into that, let Adrian know. And then we also talked about our de-stress event. So yeah.
Hannah?
SRE met today. SRE met today and we talked about outreach for elections in the winter quarter. And changes to the student constraints form that we want to be made, and then demographic form presentation to EAP, Equity Action Council. This will be done 2 weeks from now.
Any other internal DASG committee reports? You got it.
Finance on Monday, we talked about the possibility of moving to market programs. So, it doesn't seem like there's any infections there, but we have to work on it. Maybe the codes and stuff to do that, so. Yeah, we also discussed about kind of the process of does anyone, requesting and, for a finance agenda item. So for example, if you come to finance, ask for some taking special allocations. You have to fill out the form and leave that in the public now, because the form is kind of weird, so we're gonna work on fixing that. And then, we had some updates just on, the budget interviews. Nothing much there, and then, oh yeah, we also approved funding $5,000 for public policy schools budget request for their advocacy at academy conference. So that happened.
And
Just real quick, did you get my update about the budget email list?
I think you said you could add anything on.
No, I replied after that. Oh, so the second list, you should be able to find the way I updated everything. So you should have an up-to-date list of all the content.
Oh, so I'm clear to send it out. Okay, makes sense.
Joel, do you have anything from IDP? Moving on to the consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar? Renji,
I moved to approve the consent calendar.
Caitlin. Moved by Renji, seconded by Caitlin. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, the consent calendar is approved. Moving on to the first business item, which is the DASG Connect presentation. This item is to inform students about the academic awareness program DASG Connect, and to ask students to test it and provide their feedback on their experience using it. So May, would you like to come over to that? Or in the Zoom? Oh. You join the Zoom portion. It's fine.
And should I look it up right now with my computer, because I have to move them? I have to do them.
Okay, what do you need?
I need to look out for the demo. Because we weren't
Join
able
the
to.
Zoom and then you come.
Okay. It's fine.
I can log in.
Okay. So. Hi, everyone. I'm Ome. You might know me in the capacity that I work in DASG, but I also work in a different capacity. I work in an office on campus called General Counseling, the General Counseling Division, and we just launched a new program called DASG Connect. It's about 8 weeks old. And what Connect basically aims to do is help us students get the support, the resources, and the help that we might need. I think the biggest thing that I personally liked when using Connect, because I have used it myself, is that I always do end up getting a follow-up. So for instance, if I'm struggling with something, whether it's academic or non-academic, I always end up getting an answer, and I always end up getting connected with the office that I need help with. So I'm gonna do a really quick demo once Lydia's connected here. And it's actually pretty straightforward using it. It's an app on your My Portal. So while she's doing that, could you all please log into your My Portal real quick? And we're gonna test it out right now. Also, it is registration week right now, so it's actually the perfect time to submit any questions that you might have. The thing about Connect is that it's very focused on feelings, so it has a lot of feeling questions. For instance, if you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling lost,
It also has to do with academic probation as well, but that's only a small part of it. But we will connect you with a counselor or any extra support services that you might need. Okay, so once you go into your My Portal, you can check under your student apps and connect. It just says to Connect. It's an app underneath. I'll do it on my phone, because I can't get it to connect to my laptop. Could you raise your hand if you're there yet? Awesome, thank you. It's gonna take just give me a minute, please. Okay, so then you go in to your e-advising portal and you just log in with your date of birth and your student ID. Just press login. The e-advising portal is pretty simple to navigate. You just hit continue, and then it takes you to the questions. I submitted 2 questions already, as you can see. Sorry, it's kind of small. Underneath, you have the option to ask a question, and it says, please select question. It has a bunch of different ones, so like 6 or 7 questions. So there's questions related to academic and probation. There's questions like, I feel lost, I feel overwhelmed with school, I feel stressed about passing my courses. Since we just finished midterms, most of us kind of can gauge where we are at with our classes. Like, we know if we're gonna fail, if we need to withdraw, or if we need to retake a class. There's also, I feel unmotivated in class and I need help scheduling a counseling appointment. So feel free to submit a question here. You can select one of them, and then you have a details box that you can add more context for your question in, and then my team will get back to you. But the whole point of Connect is to get you a timely response, because it is registration week and we really need to get this ball rolling fast, and also to ensure that you get a follow-up. What happened to me was I called a specific office that I won't name about 4 times, I would say around spring, summer, and they never got back to me. So that was difficult. So try it out, test it out. Please feel free to give me feedback either now or later. And yeah, that concludes the end of my presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next business item. Is the public policy school budget request for advocacy and academy conference. This item is to review and possibly approve funding of request of up to $5,000 for the public policy school to attend the advocacy.
Should we start again? Okay, I feel like y'all should know who we are, but I'm Chris. I'm part of DASG, and I'm also a public policy school intern, as for all of us up here. And we're just here to talk about a conference that is coming up called Advocacy Academy. And if you want to go to the next slide. Okay.
Okay, so what is public policy school? Because from what I know, a lot of people don't really know that we're kind of a thing. Basically, public policy school is a project that starts from Vita at the College and provides advocacy training to students on key issues important to community college students, which is all of us here, obviously. Students then advocate on these issues directly with legislators and decision makers at a local, state, and national level. And what does it say? With the purpose of impacting the policies that create our institution today.
My bad. Yeah, so what the Advocacy Academy conference is about is first, we obviously need it for like skill building and to do better in our roles in PPS, and then also DASG, because I'm sure you all can see we're all a part of DSG as well. So it's gonna be skills that we use with both, because it is kind of an integration of both our roles that we will work on. And then the networking aspect is also very important with this conference, because it'll be people from various different community colleges, and we'll find out about how they kind of advocate for their students and how they do things at their colleges, and how it's different or similar to ours. So yeah. Oh, I didn't. That's
Yeah, okay. And then this is a slide about why public policy schools should attend, and also how does it relate to DASG. So the purpose of public policy is to advocate for students' wants and students' need on a legislative level. These funds will benefit present and future students by allowing us to lobby for legislative bills that can support future students. Just to give you an example, last year we helped with bills about expanded tutoring, ethnic studies. There was another one about.
There was also one about undocumented students and international students who may not have a social security number. So we didn't want them to be discriminated against for internships or apprenticeships on campus. So we pushed for the bill to be passed that takes off that requirement, so it's accessible for everyone.
And as we know too, one of DASG's missions is to make sure that we're advocating for all students' wants and students' needs. What public policy does is we do that, but on a legislative level, and we can't really do that unless we are able to communicate with other students across the entire state. This conference allows us to do that, and we're allowed to communicate with student leaders all the way from up NorCal, all the way to South California as well. And it'll just help us as well for our upcoming conference as well, that takes place in February, where we're actually going to be speaking with representatives and senators on issues like this that help students on a community college basis.
Okay, so let's go over the overall budget breakdown. So we asked for $5,000, which sounds like a lot, but it is for 5 of us, 4 of us, plus our advisors. So the advisor registration cost is $500. So for the 3 days, we're saying that the food and dinner, because we only need to pay for dinners, will be $350 total. And the student registration cost is the bulk of it, around $1,900, as well as the hotel rooms, which is $1,200. And the flights, which are $800, and there's also ground transportation from the airport to the hotel room over there. And that's we're like approximately $250. So this is just, and this all adds up to 5,000. So, yeah. If we do have a surplus, I think we touched a bit upon it in the finance meeting. We will be returning the remaining money to the allocation budget as well.
But that is the end of our presentation. Does anyone have any questions for us at the moment?
perfect.
Great.
We just wanted to go through it real quick, so we don't have to waste.
So we leave some time for your questions.
If there are no questions, does anyone want to move to approve this funding request? No.
You're
not Caitlin.
I move to approve the funding request of up to $5,000 to public policy school to attend the Advocacy Academy conference.
Orange. Moved by Caitlin, seconded by Aaron. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the funding is approved.
Yay, thank you.
Will the since Dennis isn't here, we'll.
I'll answer. The second section.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next business item, which is the Measure G updates. So Isaac is gonna present it.
So I just, I was gonna do a slide, but, I was gonna do a slide, but I forgot, so, I just took the, whatever they were presenting, and I'm just going over some information that, the architect firm presented. So in case you guys forgot about what Measure G was, so, Measure G was the mega project, aiming to build, as approved by the board, a new art/event center complex and a new service for students building, right? And here's the budget. It's $145 million. And then, based on the recommendation the task force has given back in August, it's $162 million. Now, that clearly does not add up, right? So, what they're saying is that, we don't have the money to build it because, this $162 million is assuming that those buildings will start construction in 2027. Okay. And since the new medical center is coming online, I think they're trying to start building it in 2024. It's pushing all those buildings all the way, like they're gonna start at the earliest 2027, and that's pushing up the cost about 15 to 20%. So yeah, that's that. And then furthermore, the cost that I showed you here, $145 million. Apparently, that might not be fully given to De Anza because Foothill apparently wants some of it. So, how much budget? I don't know. No one knows at this point. I'm trying, we're at De Anza as a whole, we're trying to keep the budget that we have, but it's not guaranteed that the whole budget, according to my understanding, is coming back to De Anza. Some of it might be allocated to Foothill, and that is gonna even reduce the budget that we already have. So there's two problems. So first of all, we don't have enough budget, and second of all, the budget that we might have is not the budget that we actually might have, if that makes any sense. Okay, sure, Caitlin.
So if we don't know how much money we have and we don't know what we're doing, then what are the future steps of what are we?
That's a great question. No one knows.
Oh,
So it's just like,
So-
okay, I just wanted to like let you guys know. Because I think like everyone is like talking about it on like the academic senate level and the classified senate level. And it's just very it's just everything is just kind of like not certain right now. And so that's a problem, and I just wanted to let you guys know, I guess. Yeah, Hannah?
Does Foothill know, like, do we know how much Foothill wants?
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, I'm guess, well, okay, actually, no, I don't wanna guess the anything, so.
Yeah.
So the budget we have is 145 million. But the cost is 160 million. That is assuming that we get 100% of the budget. And that 160 million budget cost comes from like a 15 to 20% increase of cost estimate since we're starting the buildings late. And the reason behind that is because of the new medical center, because they said it was like too dangerous or something to build two buildings at once. So yeah, so I'm telling you, if basically if they like start building like right now, they would have enough money to like finish everything.
I have a question.
I know.
Okay. So I don't know if this applies, but I'm just thinking of the possibility. Because I know it does happen with a lot of universities and colleges. But I don't know if it's like the case over here. So with this potential like change in just like the campus, would it affect the tuition of students in any way? Like, could that potentially add on?
That
to
has
that?
not come up to any discussion, and I don't think so, because the fund comes from like a specific bond from the tax that they do on like the whole, like it's like a sales tax or something.
Okay,
They raise a bond from there. And whatever that money is allocated in the bond, part of it is used for Measure D. I mean, the whole bond is Measure D, and part of it is used to build like the arts and event center and the new students. Yeah.
alright, no, yeah, I read an article a while back. about
I
it.
don't think so.
So that's why I asked.
Yeah. Caitlin, I saw your hand up.
No, good to hear that.
Right?
This might be kind of stupid, so I do apologize, but like,
It's fine.
why doesn't Foothill just request like a bond of their own, so that way it's not being
No, okay,
taken out?
no, okay, the bond is 898 million in total. So $175 million is allocated to De Anza, 175 million is allocated to the Foothill College. And then I think there's like some of it went to the EPS, the Central Service District, something, and then the rest of it went to the district. Now, based on this budget comes from district. And this budget comes from De Anza. Now, originally, this $101 million is allocated from the district to De Anza College to say that, hey, we want an event center back then. Now, since it's no longer the case, and De Anza College has decided that we want an event center with like arts and stuff, having the creative arts division, the district or some people in Foothill is saying that that budget should not be fully given to De Anza because it's not what the original plan was. Does that make any sense?
A little bit, yeah,
What's not making that much sense?
everything.
Okay, so the $101 million is
I'm gonna get it. I'll figure it out when I go.
Dennis, I see you're online. Would you have anything else to add? Oh. Okay, okay, then does anyone have any more questions?
So.
I don't-
Can we actually take that amount of it, like, we have to write over that amount?
who decides everything for the budget? Then I was talking about like the potential.
Measure G, yeah.
Yeah. You wanna add on to that?
So what did you just,
I was talking about the fact that we might not get the $144.9 million allocated.
well, at the very least,
Well, the $63.4 million is definitely going to De Anza.
yeah, I think the services for students budget should, I mean, any of this could be changed if the board really wants to. But the services for students building funding should still be going to De Anza. With the center demolition and utility move will still go to De Anza, of course. The question is I think it was the 81 million, is that what's remaining? So the 81 million that's remaining is what the board is saying is still potentially up for grabs. Now, De Anza's position on this is, of course, well, the funding was to build something on the De Anza campus. Should it not remain to build something on the De Anza campus? Because we still need a creative arts area. And you know, they still want the service student building, which we do need as well. So yeah, there's a lot of discussion going on about, you know, funding allocation in general between Clifton and De Anza, but yeah, so that I know that this is going to be on the college council agenda tomorrow. So I know Lydia and I don't remember who else, but there will be some people from DASG there. So this will be one of the topics of discussion at the college council meeting to see what to do next.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I know that people aren't necessarily happy about the way they seem to be prioritizing, if it even happens, the county health clinic over, you know, school functions, academics and students and so on. And then, you know, just how beneficial will the county health clinic be for the DMV students is still up for debate. Not that anyone is necessarily opposed to it, but again, just how much benefit the students is still a valid question. So yeah, so I mean, we're just kind of at that point right now. We're just going to be continuing to discuss. It's on the college council agenda. I don't know what. I think they mentioned that it might be on the board agenda again in December. I don't think there will be any final decisions or anything, but not sure yet.
And I just want to add on to that, like, yeah, even if we have the full budget of $162 million, no, I mean $145 million, it's still not enough to cover the $160 million from the recommendation, considering the fact that we're delaying construction. And like, so if you look at the timeline here, it's not until 2034 that everything is done. So we're talking about a decade from now, which is a very long time, which the bond started 2020-ish, right?
Yeah.
So it's taking like 15-20 years for these buildings to finally like finish construction. And it's just, you know, a lot of people are unhappy basically. But
I mean, and then there's I think I think it was at the last thing. I don't remember if it was at the board meeting or the Measure G task force meeting on the 3rd, so before the board meeting. But I do remember the board president Aaron's, you know, he had made some comment about that the board had at some point prioritized an event center, you know, for the Cupertino community. But you know, one big question about that is exactly how did they decide that? I mean, I know there are people in Cupertino who would like that and want that, but it took a lot for the De Anza Vice President of Administrative Services, Pam Ray, to convince the board to approve the feasibility study, which basically said everything that the De Anza staff were already saying, that another Flint Center style event center did not make sense. It would not be utilized just like the Flint Center. There was no demand for it in this area, and it would just lose money just like the Flint Center. And so the 2021 facilities master plan that was, you know, developed by De Anza College and approved and so on, had a creative arts area where the Flint Center used to be. And then after, you know, somehow the board prioritized an event center for the Cupertino community, we were basically made to change the next facilities master plan, so the 2026, I guess, I think they're every 6 years or something like that. So the current master plan had an event center where the Flint Center is and no real permanent place for the creative arts. And that's where the big, protests and so on happened last, winter quarter. Yeah. So that's kind of where we are now. If there had been no outside influence, we wouldn't be doing any of this. The 2016-2021 master plan would, for the most part, have been, updated and reused for the 2021-2026 master plan for facilities planning. And, who knows, Flint Center would probably already be starting demolition now, and we'd already be in the planning phases for the other two areas.
Yeah, I think it's, the Flint Center is destined to come down this summer.
Yeah, I think originally it was gonna be a little earlier, but because of all the delays and stuff, yeah. I think now the demolition is the start in some point.
Any questions? Is it?
I'm just gonna ask, it's such a long project, if you approve that, but then a few years later, wouldn't there be this never-ending headache of people going like, hey, I know we're in the process of building this, but what if we do this route instead? Because it's a decades-long project, and there's a lot of ways people can do it.
Wait, can you clarify the question exactly?
I'm just asking, like, for such a long project, even if it was approved, is there a guarantee that you're gonna stick to it, or would there be a chance to go flip flop, like, hey, let's do this instead, midway through the project, which happens so long?
In theory, yes, changes could be proposed again. But in practicality, probably not unless it was, like what happened this time around, a big turnout, a big protest about the plan as it was before. Even though it is a long time plan, these kind of things always just take a long time. So normally, unless something drastic happens, they discover an unknown fault line, say, where something was planning to be built. And so they have to stop and figure things out again. Unless something like that happens, or there's a big protest, normally no, something like this of this magnitude, once they, set it up and approve it, it's not gonna change.
It's not a quick question, I think part of Dave's points, but my question is, for balcony wall, was there anything like a big protest or anything that caused it to just like stop getting built? Because I remember they took down balcony wall, I think over there to build housing and stuff, is there like, do you know what happened?
I think it's going now. Yeah. It took a while. There were people protesting it. Mostly that was the what they call maybe not in my backyard. Just people in general, especially who don't want a lot of development. But it took a while, but eventually because of state laws and so on, the developer was able to push through and start working on that. So I think it's being done now. Yeah, I haven't heard anything new about it being stopped to death.
And yeah, I heard that like affordable housing, one of the ideas was to maybe purchase or buy the law or keep the law to get some housing in Valpo.
In Valpo, yeah. Are you talking about are you talking about Foothill De Anza having something to do with the Valpo project, or are you just talking about the Valpo project in general?
And that's what all the
Oh, that, I don't know, the housing, I don't know if anyone here knows more about what's the housing task force has been talking about, the district. But they would have some more information about any talks about that kind of stuff right now. But I haven't heard anything new on the affordable housing front as far as FHDA is concerned. I know one site had been discussed at one point a few years ago, but a lot of people said that that site was just not suitable, especially because it was not really, well served by public transit. So it would not have really worked for students and such.
Any other? So again, if you are very passionate about this project, I would really recommend you to speak out, especially in a board meeting. I think that would play the biggest emphasis. Or you can also contact me if you want to sit on Measure G task force. That's, I think we still have a vacancy. We're still trying to find a creative arts major. But
Yeah, for students.
but we still haven't done anything yet. Or you should replace me. But
Well, we would still like to have somebody from DSG there.
yeah. Isabel, is there any updates on, is there? Wait,
Okay, so seeing that there are no more questions, we'll be moving on to the last business item, which is the student leadership code. So we'll be just reviewing, discussing and approving the proposed changes to the code and also the first. So
Oh, they're on catch. Okay, so- You have it? Oh, okay, so good. You got it. It's from in your email. So yeah, this was information discussion last week, nothing new, no changes from what was presented last week. So some changes under the requirements section. Instead of saying meeting attendance and participation, in these various locations, we added a separate item, just demonstrate professional standards. So that would include things like timely communication, engagement in meetings, being punctual, maintaining positive attitude, etc. Because it was felt, when we were working on that, the distribution chart, that we showed you before about, how much funding you get for everything. It was going to be, how do you measure in a particular meeting participation? So instead of just listing it individually, it was just overall, professional standards. And then special projects and committee projects didn't make sense to have those two. So it was just completion of special projects and committee projects. So whatever projects you're working on in that quarter, if you complete them, you get your full funding for that quarter. And then of course, mostly this was a language change here. It should have been quarterly goals submitted. And then we just put in a little bit of definition so people understand what that means. So it could be personal growth goals, it could be, a program or event you want to implement, it could be, things like that. So, and then there was one other change related to those goals, just adding when those would normally get submitted. So normally after this quarter, those would be submitted by 4 p.m. the second Friday of each quarter. You're all getting credit for your goals this quarter, so don't worry about that. And yes, that's it. So we just need a motion to approve or possible amendments or whatever. We didn't have that last week. Yeah, that was the last week.
Caitlin?
I mentioned the changes in the issues.
Hannah?
We spoke about like absences and changes like that we wanted to see last time. Is it gonna be like how is that? Because I remember
That was, well, we haven't had a chance to discuss that yet. Those specifics, I guess we should show that other thing then. So, we just haven't had a chance to discuss what that would look like yet. And some of those changes wouldn't necessarily go in the code, although they could. But if you remember, still bigger, I think, yeah. So if you remember, we had some notes at the bottom about excused absences and things like that. So yes, we will take those, your feedback into consideration. We'll think about it, see what, what would be a good, good solution to your, concerns and whatnot. And, yeah, we'll make sure to incorporate that.
For the code, that wouldn't be related to this.
Not necessarily. I mean, it could be something we enter the code, but we don't, again, we still need to work on it.
Are there any other questions then? If not, can I get a second to Caitlin's motion of approving the code? Jason? Moved by Caitlin, seconded by Jason. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, the code is approved. Moving on to public comments. Are there any other public comments today? Okay, moving on to advisor announcements. Dennis, did you have any?
I don't think I have anything new. I don't know about, Marissa and Dana and what you.
Dana, would you have any?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Moving on to Senate announcements. Are there any Senate announcements? I have one. It looks, I will be holding the internal elections for elections commissioner on the next week on the 22nd of November. So that will be an agenda item and we will be having an internal elections for that position. Are there any other Senate announcements? Moving on to introduction and approval of prospective senators. If you're running for elections commissioner, could you please come up and type in your name and amount of meetings? So for those of you who are interested in running next week, you will have to submit the Senate form to run as a midterm senator. And next week at the end of the meeting, we'll be having like an interview and also a vote to determine the next election. So there's nothing else on the agenda, so I adjourn this meeting at 5 p.m. But for this 29th, it's the VIP we're gonna play a game of I don't know. I mean, there's another.